The phone rang at 11:47 p.m. Ellis Granger set down his red pen next to the stack of geometry tests he'd been grading. The caller ID showed Talia Voss. His daughter Ren was sleeping over at the Voss house tonight with her best friend Maggie. "Hello, come get Ren. Now." Talia's voice carried an edge he'd never heard before. "I don't want her here another minute. And bring gloves." Ellis straightened in his chair. "What happened? Is she hurt?" "She's fine. Just come. We need to talk." The line went dead. Ellis grabbed his keys and jacket. The drive to the Voss house took 12 minutes through empty Durham streets. Porch lights glowed yellow against the October darkness. He pulled into their driveway behind Talia's Honda. Talia opened the door before he knocked. Her face looked pale under the entry light. "Where's Ren?" "Upstairs with Maggie." "Come in." She led him to the kitchen. "You need to hear what they recorded." The girls were playing with Maggie's iPad. Ellis waited. Talia pulled out the device with shaking hands. They were making videos in Maggie's room. Silly stuff. Then Ren started talking about your wife. About things at home. Talia's fingers hesitated over the screen. "Ellis, I've known you for 3 years. You're a good father. What I heard tonight." She took a breath. "Just listen." She pressed play. Ren's voice came through the speakers, clearer than Ellis expected. 8-year-old girls whispering secrets. "My mom has a boyfriend now. She says Daddy doesn't know, but Daddy's going to get in the way." Maggie's voice. "Get in the way of what?" "I don't know. But Mommy says he might get sick soon, so he won't be around. She talks to Uncle Bryce about it when they think I'm sleeping." Ellis felt something cold settle in his chest. Uncle Bryce. Marla had never mentioned anyone named Bryce. "Mommy cries sometimes. She says Daddy makes her feel stupid. But Uncle Bryce says she's smart and pretty and deserves better." The recording continued for another minute. Ren describing car rides to a secret house. Meeting times when Ellis worked late. Conversations about money and insurance. Talia stopped the playback. "I'm sorry," she said. "I couldn't just ignore this." Ellis stared at the iPad screen. His mind worked through the implications with the same methodical approach he used for lesson plans. No emotional reaction. Just data processing. "Can you send me this file?" "Already did. Emailed it to you 10 minutes ago." "Thank you." He went upstairs to collect Ren. She was brushing her teeth in Maggie's bathroom, still in pajamas. "Daddy? Why are you here?" "Time to go home, sweetheart. But we were going to make pancakes in the morning." Another time. Ren packed her overnight bag without argument. She learned not to question his decisions. In the car, she fell asleep against the window. Ellis drove home in silence. The recording played again in his mind. Every word, every detail. His wife discussing his potential illness with a man named Bryce. Insurance. Getting him out of the way. 22 years of marriage. 2 miscarriages before Ren. Countless quiet dinners and shared responsibilities. All of it balanced on a foundation that had apparently cracked without his notice. He carried Ren inside and tucked her into bed. Then he sat at his computer and opened the email from Talia. He listened to the recording 3 more times, taking notes. Marla's car sat in the garage. She was asleep upstairs in their bed. Everything looked normal. Everything felt like a lie. Ellis opened a new document and began typing. Date, time, source of information. Direct quotes from the recording. Names mentioned. Timeline of events as described by his daughter. Confrontations tonight. First, he needed to understand exactly what he was dealing with. Ellis taught 4 classes the next day without mentioning the recording to anyone. During his lunch break, he drove to the bank. "I need to review our account activity for the past 6 months," he told the teller. The statement showed a pattern he'd missed. Cash withdrawals every Tuesday and Thursday. Always $200. Always from the ATM near Marla's former office. Marla had told him she used those days for grocery shopping and errands. That he photographed each page with his phone. The tea home that evening, Marla cooked dinner while humming. She seemed relaxed. Happy even. "How was your day?" she asked, setting down his plate. "Fine. Yours?" "Good. I met with Dr. Patterson about getting back into practice. She thinks I might be ready soon." Dr. Patterson was Marla's former supervisor. Marla had lost her counseling license 18 months ago after a patient's suicide. A case she'd mishandled according to the state board. Ellis cut his chicken methodically. That's good news. After dinner, he helped Rin with homework while Marla showered. During a math problem about percentages, he asked casual questions. Do you remember that secret house you mentioned to Maggie? Rin looked up from her worksheet. I'm not supposed to talk about that. Says who? Mommy. She says it's a surprise we're planning. What kind of surprise? I don't know. Uncle Bryce was there sometimes. He's nice. He brings me candy. Ellis kept his voice level. What does Uncle Bryce look like? Tall. He has a beard. He wears shirts with no sleeves sometimes. Rin returned to her math. Are we still planning the surprise, Daddy? We'll see. That night, after Marla fell asleep, Ellis searched public property records online. He entered Marla's name and found nothing recent. Then he tried variations, different spellings. Her maiden name? There. A lease agreement from 2 months ago. An Airbnb rental listed under Marla Sinclair, her maiden name. The property address was 15 minutes from their house. The lease showed 2 occupants, Marla Sinclair and Bryce Landon. Ellis screenshot the document. He'd found a secret house that he spent the next hour researching Bryce Landon. Social media profiles showed a man in his mid-30s. Beard, sleeveless shirts, and several photos. He worked for a nonprofit called Community Action Network. His Facebook relationship status was single. His post revealed someone who considered himself a life coach. Motivational quotes about cutting toxic people from your life and taking control of your destiny. Recent photos showed him at restaurants Ellis recognized, places Marla claimed to visit for job interviews. Ellis created a new folder on his laptop. Documentation. He organized everything chronologically. Bank statements, property records, social media screenshots. The recording from Talia. A case was building itself. The next morning, Ellis checked their joint account online. Another $200 withdrawal yesterday. Tuesday, right on schedule. During his planning period at school, he called their insurance agent. I'm reviewing our coverage, Ellis said. Can you send me our current policy details? Sure thing. Actually, your wife just increased your life insurance last month. Did you sign the paperwork she brought in? Ellis felt that cold sensation again. Remind me of the details. She doubled your coverage to $500,000. Said you discussed it after your recent health scare, right? The health scare. I'll email you the policy information. Ellis hung up. He'd had no health scares. He hadn't signed any paperwork. Yet somehow his life insurance had doubled without his knowledge. He called the insurance company directly. I need to verify the signatures on a recent policy change, he said. I'll transfer you to fraud prevention. The investigation would take several days. But Ellis suspected what they'd find. A forged signature. Additional evidence of Marla's planning. That afternoon, he drove past the Airbnb address. A small house with a red door. Marla's car wasn't there, but a blue pickup truck sat in the driveway. North Carolina plates. He photographed the license numbered AT home. Rin met him at the door with a drawing. Look what I made, Daddy. The picture showed 3 stick figures. 2 adults and a child. All smiling. That's me and you and Uncle Bryce, Rin explained. Mommy says we might all live together someday. Ellis studied the drawing. When did Mommy say that? Yesterday, when we went to the secret house. Rin tugged his sleeve. Don't tell Mommy I told you. It's supposed to be a surprise. I won't tell. He added the drawing to his documentation folder. Evidence of Marla discussing future living arrangements with Bryce. Evidence of continued contact despite his wife's claims of job searching. The pieces fit together with ugly clarity. Marla wanted him gone. She'd found someone to replace him, and she was slowly building a case to make it happen legally or permanently. But Ellis had always been patient, thorough. While Marla plotted his removal, he would document every move she made. The hunter had become the hunted. She just didn't know it yet. Ellis remembered the night Marla lost her license. She'd come home from the state board hearing with red eyes and shaking hands. 20 years of building her therapy practice, gone in a single afternoon. The patient who'd killed himself had left a note blaming her specifically, claiming she dismissed his suicidal thoughts as attention-seeking behavior. The board found her notes inadequate, her treatment plan insufficient. Her follow-up protocols violated basic standards of care. They destroyed me, she'd said that night. 20 years of helping people, and they focus on one mistake. Ellis had tried to comfort her, suggested she could rebuild, find another career path, use her experience in different ways. You don't understand, she'd snapped. You've never failed at anything that mattered. You get your little teaching job, in your little classroom, and your little students who think you're wonderful. Nobody questions you. Nobody reviews your every decision. The bitterness in her voice had surprised him. They'd barely spoken for weeks afterward. Now, 18 months later, Ellis recognized signs he'd missed. The way Marla's eyes hardened when she looked at him. Her comment about his perfect little world at the high school. The growing resentment toward his stable income while she struggled to find work. She'd applied for dozens of positions. Administrative roles, customer service, anything requiring a college degree. Every rejection deepened her anger. They look at my record and see liability, she complained. Nobody cares about context. Nobody wants to hear my side. Ellis had offered practical solutions, resume workshops, career counseling, networking events. But Marla rejected them all. Stop trying to fix me, she'd said. I don't need your logic. I need someone who understands. Apparently, she found that someone in Bryce Landon. Ellis researched Bryce's background more thoroughly. The Community Action Network was a small nonprofit focusing on life coaching for people in transition. People recovering from addiction. People leaving abusive relationships. People starting over after major setbacks. Bryce's LinkedIn profile described him as a transformation specialist who helped clients break free from limiting relationships and toxic patterns. Perfect bait for someone like Marla, someone feeling trapped and misunderstood. Ellis found articles Bryce had written for the nonprofit's newsletter. Titles like When Family Becomes the Enemy and Financial Freedom Through Strategic Planning. The content was generic self-help material, but the underlying message was clear. Sometimes you had to cut people out of your life to move forward. Point 1 article specifically addressed divorce strategy. Document everything, Bryce advised. Build your case slowly. Make sure the courts see you as the victim, not the aggressor. Ellis printed the article. More evidence for his growing file. That evening, Marla seemed particularly animated at dinner. She talked about her day, her conversations with Dr. Patterson, her optimism about the future. I'm thinking of taking a weekend trip, she said. Clear my head. Figure out next steps. Where? Maybe Virginia Beach. I found this nice little place online. Ellis nodded. The Airbnb, probably. A romantic getaway with Bryce while Ellis watched her in. Sound good. When? Next weekend. If that works for you. I'll manage. After Wren went to bed, Ellis found Marla in their bathroom, applying face cream with unusual care. You seem happier lately, he said. I'm feeling more hopeful, like things might actually work out. She met his eyes in the mirror. I know I've been difficult. The whole license thing, it hit me harder than I expected. I understand. Do you? Sometimes I wonder if you really see me. The real me. Not just the wife and mother version. Ellis leaned against the doorframe. What do you mean? Nothing. Forget it. She capped the cream container. I'm just ready for a fresh start. A fresh start. Without him, apparently. Ellis watched her brush her teeth. 22 years of this routine. Shared bathroom space. Negotiated schedules. Quiet domestic coordination that once felt like partnership. Now it felt like theater. Both of them playing roles while planning different futures. Marla, he said, if you weren't happy, why didn't you just say so? She paused mid-brush. Foam around her mouth. Eyes wide in the mirror. What kind of question is that? A direct one. She rinsed and spat. I don't know what you're getting at, Ellis. I told you I'm feeling better. More positive. About us. About everything. She left the bathroom without another word. Ellis heard her settle into bed. The rustle of sheets. The click of her bedside lamp. He stood in the mirror where she'd been moments before. His reflection looked tired. Older than his 41 years. But his eyes held something they hadn't in months. Clarity. Marla wanted a fresh start, and Ellis would give her one. Just not the version she was planning. Ellis discovered Marla's recordings by accident. He was looking for his spare car keys in her desk drawer when his fingers found a small digital recorder. The kind journalists used for interviews. He'd never seen it before. He turned it on. Marla's voice filled the room. He doesn't hit me, but the emotional abuse is constant. He makes me feel stupid, questions every decision I make, controls the money, controls my schedule. A pause. Then her voice again, different this time, more theatrical. I'm scared of him sometimes. The way he looks at me, like I'm a problem to solve. Another pause. A door closing in the background. Ren sees it too. She gets nervous when he raises his voice. Last week she asked me why Daddy doesn't smile anymore. Ellis fast-forwarded through 20 minutes of similar content. Marla practicing different versions of the same accusations. Testing emotional inflections. Building a narrative of systematic abuse. None of it true. All of it convincing that he copied the files to his phone before returning the recorder to its hiding place. That afternoon, Marla announced she'd scheduled a family counseling session. Dr. Reeves came highly recommended, she said. I think it would be good for all of us to talk through some issues. What issues? Communication problems. The tension Ren's been picking up on. Ellis agreed. He was curious to see Marla's strategy in action. Dr. Reeves operated from a small office near Duke University. Comfortable chairs, soft lighting, boxes of tissues strategically placed. Marla positioned herself across from Ellis with Ren between them on a small couch. Why don't we start with everyone sharing how they've been feeling lately? Dr. Reeves suggested. Marla went first. She described feeling unheard and dismissed. She mentioned Ellis's controlling tendencies and his lack of emotional support during her career difficulties. Ellis listened with professional interest. Marla was good at this. She hit psychological buzzwords, painted herself as the victim without making specific accusations. Ellis, how do you respond to that? Dr. Reeves asked. I think we've had communication challenges, Ellis said carefully. I'm willing to work on them. Dr. Reeves turned to Ren. How do you feel when Mommy and Daddy have disagreements? Ren glanced at Marla, then back at the therapist. Sometimes I get nervous. What makes you nervous? Another look at Marla. When Daddy gets quiet and angry. Ellis felt something shift in the room. He'd never raised his voice at Ren, never shown anger in her presence. This response had been coached. Can you tell me more about that? Dr. Reeves leaned forward. Sometimes he looks at Mommy in a scary way, like he's mad, but won't say it. Marla reached over and rubbed Ren's shoulder. It's okay, sweetie. You're safe here. The session continued for 40 minutes. Marla skillfully guided the conversation toward Ellis's emotional unavailability and the atmosphere of tension in their home. Ren provided supporting details that sounded rehearsed. Dr. Reeves scheduled follow-up sessions. She gave Ellis information about anger management resources in the parking lot afterward. Ellis knelt beside Ren while Marla loaded her purse into the car. That was hard to talk about, he said gently. You did good in there. Mommy said I should tell the truth about how I feel. Of course. Did Mommy help you practice what to say? Ren nodded. She said it was important to remember the times when you looked angry. I see. Ellis stood up. Marla was watching from beside the car, keys in hand. Ready to go? She asked. Ready. On the drive home. Marla seemed pleased. I think that went well. Dr. Reeves understands the dynamics here. She seems thorough. Ren was very brave. It's not easy for children to talk about family stress. Ellis watched his daughter in the rearview mirror. She was coloring in a book, seemingly unconcerned about the family stress she'd just described. That evening, he called his cousin Victor at Scene 5. The obisver Victor Boone owed Ellis $12,000 from a poker debt that had gone bad 3 years earlier. He'd been paying it back slowly, $50 here and there, but Ellis had never pressed him for the full amount. Now he needed a different kind of payment. They met at a coffee shop near Victor's apartment. Victor looked tired, older than his 38 years. IT contracting work had dried up, and his gambling problem hadn't improved. I need surveillance, Ellis said without preamble. Digital, clean, legal. Victor raised an eyebrows. What kind of surveillance? My wife. I think she's planning something that could hurt me and my daughter. Ellis explained the situation without emotion. The recordings, the insurance policy, the secret house, Bryce Landon. Victor listened, occasionally sipping his coffee. When Ellis finished, Victor was quiet for a long moment. This is serious stuff, man. I know. What exactly do you want me to do? Clone her phone. Track her movements. Give me evidence of what she's really planning. Victor shook his head. Phone cloning is illegal without consent. She's plotting to remove me from my daughter's life. Possibly permanently. I need to know what I'm dealing with. There are other ways. Legal ways. Victor pulled out his phone. Does she use cloud backup for photos and texts? Probably. If you have access to the family iCloud account, I can pull data from there. Shared computers, family plans, all fair game legally. Ellis provided the account information. Victor worked on his laptop for 20 minutes, occasionally muttering under his breath. Got it, he said finally. She's been backing up to a separate account, but it's linked to your family plan. Everything's here. Victor showed Ellis the screen. Hundreds of text messages between Marla and Bryce. Photos with GPS coordinates. Email chains discussing the Ellis situation. This is from yesterday, Victor said, opening a text thread. Bryce, how did the counseling session go? Marla, perfect. Ren played her part beautifully. Dr. Reeves is already talking about the impact of emotional abuse on children. Bryce, and the other thing? Marla, still working on it. My friend at the clinic is being cautious, but she owes me a favor. Ellis read over Victor's shoulder. What other thing? Victor scrolled through more messages. Here, from last week. Marla, I looked up the symptoms online. Small doses over time. Looks like natural illness. Bryce, are you sure about this? Marla, it's the only way. He'll never agree to a divorce that gives me what I need. And the custody thing has to look justified. Bryce, what about Ren? Marla, she'll adjust. Kids are resilient. And she likes you. Ellis stared at the screen. His wife was discussing poisoning him, slowly and deliberately, to make it look like natural causes. Jesus, Victor whispered. She's actually planning to kill you. Keep going. What else? Victor found more evidence. Photos of Marla meeting with someone outside a medical clinic. Text messages about obtaining samples and timing the doses. Email chains discussing life insurance payouts and custody law. GPS data showing regular trips to the Airbnb where Bryce lived. Calendar entries marked. E-meetings apparently code for discussions about Ellis. She's been planning this for months, Victor said. Maybe longer. Ellis studied the timeline. The insurance policy increase. The counseling sessions. The coach statements from Ren. All building toward a scenario where Marla appeared to be an abused wife whose husband had died of mysterious illness, leaving her to collect insurance money and raise their daughter with her new boyfriend. Can you give me everything? Ellis asked. All of it. Organized, chronologically. Yeah, but Ellis, you need to call the police. This is attempted murder. Not yet. I need more. I need to catch her in the act. Ellis spent the next hour reviewing Victor's findings. The evidence was overwhelming, but circumstantial. Text messages could be explained away. Photos could be misinterpreted that he needed Marla to actually try poisoning him. With witnesses. With proof that couldn't be dismissed. I want you to keep monitoring, Ellis told Victor. Every day. Every conversation. And I need you to help me set up some insurance. What kind of insurance? The kind that makes sure I survive this, and she doesn't. Ellis made an appointment with Rebecca Martinez, a family law attorney recommended by a colleague. Her office occupied the top story of a converted warehouse downtown. Professional, but not intimidating. I need to understand custody law, Ellis said. Specifically, what would give me full custody of my daughter? Martinez was in her 40s with sharp eyes and an efficient manner. She took notes while Ellis outlined his situation without mentioning the poisoning plot. Parental alienation is a serious issue, she said. Coaching a child to make false statements can backfire spectacularly in court. What about abuse allegations? If proven false, they often result in restricted visitation for the accusing parent. Courts don't like being manipulated. Ellis leaned forward. What about financial fraud tied to custodial manipulation? That's a felony, especially if it involves forged documents or insurance fraud. Martinez studied her notes. What exactly are we dealing with here? Ellis provided the details. The forged insurance signature, the secret property lease, the coach therapy sessions, Martinez whistled softly. This is more than a custody case. This is criminal fraud. What do I need to prove it? Documentation. Timeline. Expert testimony about the child's coaching. Financial records. She paused. And you need to be very careful. If your wife is as calculating as you described, she's probably building a case against you too. She is. Then you need to be smarter. Let her make her moves while you document everything. But don't give her ammunition to use against you. Ellis spent 2 hours with Martinez, learning about evidence standards and legal procedures. She agreed to represent him when he was ready to file. One more question, Ellis said as they finished. If someone were attempting to poison their spouse, what would the legal consequences be? Martinez stared at him. Attempted murder. 20 years minimum. What? Hypothetically. Mr. Granger, if you believe your life is in danger, you need to contact police immediately. I will, when I have enough evidence. That evening, Ellis installed a small recording device in the kitchen. Victor had provided it along with a hidden camera for the dining room. Both devices were voice-activated and undetectable, that if Marla tried to poison his food, it would be recorded from multiple angles. He also began eating only foods he prepared himself or purchased directly. Sealed containers. Restaurant meals. Nothing Marla could tamper with unobserved. She noticed a change on the third day. You're not eating my cooking anymore, she said over breakfast. I've been trying to eat healthier. More variety. Since when do you care about variety? Ellis buttered his toast bread from a loaf he'd bought himself. Since I realized I was in a rut. Marla watched him carefully. Are you feeling okay? You seem different lately. Different how? I don't know. More alert. Like you're paying attention to things you used to ignore. Ellis met her gaze. Maybe I am. That afternoon, Victor called with an update. She's getting desperate, he said. The messages are more frequent. More specific. She's asking Bryce when they can move to the next phase. What's the next phase? According to the texts, she's supposed to get the drugs tomorrow. Her friend at the clinic finally agreed to help. Ellis felt his pulse quicken. Where's the meeting? Parking lot behind the CVS on 9th Street. 2 o'clock. Can you be there? With a camera? Already planning on it. Ellis hung up and checked his recording equipment. Everything was working perfectly. Tomorrow, Marla would collect the means to poison him. Within days, she'd probably try to use them, and Ellis would be ready. Ellis watched for Victor's car as Marla met with Dr. Janet Kozlowski in the CVS parking lot. Victor had positioned them with a clear view while remaining unnoticed. Through the telephoto lens, Ellis could see the exchange. A small bottle changing hands. A brief conversation. Both women looking around nervously before separating. Got it all, Victor murmured, lowering his camera. Video and audio. She's officially in possession of what looks like prescription medication. Victor had researched Dr. Kozlowski the night before. She'd worked with Marla at the counseling center. She'd also been reprimanded twice for prescription irregularities. Ellis's phone buzzed with a text from Marla, running errands. Home by 4. Let's follow her, Ellis said. They trailed Marla to 3 different stores. Regular errands that would support her alibi. But Victor's surveillance showed she'd made one additional stop between the pharmacy and her shopping trip, the Airbnb. 30 minutes with Bryce. She's telling him she got the drugs, Victor said, reviewing the timeline. Now, they're finalizing their plan. That evening, Marla cooked dinner with unusual attention to detail. She prepared Ellis's favorite meal, grilled chicken with rice and vegetables. She even opened a bottle of wine. What's the occasion? Ellis asked. No occasion. I just felt like cooking something nice. Ellis accepted the plate, but didn't eat immediately. Looks great. Let me just wash my hands. In the bathroom, he switched on the small recorder Victor had provided. When he returned to the dining room, Marla was sitting at the table with her own plate. You're not eating? He asked, noticing her untouched food. I'm not very hungry. I had a late lunch. Ellis cut a piece of chicken and lifted it toward his mouth. Then he paused. Actually, I should take my medication first. Dr. Hansen said to take it with food. He stood up and walked to the kitchen, leaving his plate at the table. In the medicine cabinet, he made noise with pill bottles while secretly watching through the doorway. Marla looked around quickly, then reached into her purse. She pulled out a small dropper bottle and squeezed several drops onto Ellis's rice. The hidden camera caught everything. Ellis returned to the table with a glass of water and a vitamin pill. "Sorry about that," he said, sitting down. "No problem." He looked at his plate. The rice looked slightly different where the liquid had been absorbed. Darker in one section. "You know what? I'm not as hungry as I thought." Ellis pushed the plate away. "Maybe I'll save this for later." Marla's face tightened. "You should eat. You've been losing weight." "I'm fine." "Ellis, you need to eat regularly. It's not healthy to skip meals." Her voice carried an edge of desperation. She'd expected him to consume the poisoned food immediately. "I'll grab something later," Ellis said, standing up. "I have papers to grade." He left his untouched plate on the table and went to his study. Through the doorway, he could see Marla staring at the abandoned food. Her careful plan had failed, but Ellis had recorded the entire attempt. An hour later, Marla knocked on his study door. "I cleaned up dinner," she said. "Put your plate in the refrigerator in case you want it later." "Thanks." She hesitated in the doorway. "Are you feeling all right? You've been acting strange lately." "I'm fine. Just tired. Maybe you should see Dr. Hansen. Get a checkup." Ellis looked up from his papers. "Why?" "I worry about you sometimes. The stress at work. You're not getting younger." The concern in her voice sounded genuine. But Ellis knew she was building her narrative. When he eventually got sick, she'd point to these conversations as evidence that his health had been declining. "I'll think about it," he said. Marla said good night and went upstairs. Ellis waited until he heard their bedroom door close, then retrieved his plate from the refrigerator. He sealed it in a plastic bag and labeled it with the date and time. Evidence for the laboratory analysis that would confirm what Marla had added to his food. The next morning, Ellis called in sick to work. He spent the day with Victor, organizing their documentation. Photos, video recordings, text message logs, financial records. "This is enough for attempted murder," Victor said, reviewing the files. "Why haven't you called the police?" "Because she's not done yet. She's going to file for divorce soon. I want to catch her entire plan, not just the poisoning attempt." Ellis was right. 3 days later, Marla served him with divorce papers. She did it during breakfast, sliding the legal documents across the table like a restaurant menu. "I think we both know this isn't working," she said calmly. "I've decided to file for divorce." Ellis scanned the papers. Irreconcilable differences. Request for full custody. Claim of emotional abandonment and mental instability. "You're asking for the house," he noted. "I need stability for Ren. You can get an apartment. And you want full custody. Given the circumstances, I think that's best." Ellis set down the papers. "What circumstances?" Marla pulled out a folder. "I've documented concerning behavior patterns. Your emotional unavailability. The way Ren responds to your anger. Dr. Reeves has agreed to testify about the family dynamics she observed. She'd been thorough. The folder contained printed emails, fabricated ones Ellis recognized from Victor's surveillance, photos of Ren looking nervous around Ellis, and copies of the therapy session notes. "This is impressive," Ellis said. "Very detailed. I don't want to hurt you, Ellis. But I have to protect my daughter." "Our daughter," Ellis thought. But he didn't correct her. "I'll need to review this with an attorney," he said. "Of course. The court date is set for next month." Marla seemed confident, pleased with herself. She played a long game, building her case carefully while poisoning her husband and planning his death. She had no idea that Ellis had been playing a longer game. The custody hearing took place in a sterile conference room at the Durham County Courthouse. Judge Patricia Williams presided, flanked by a court reporter and child services representative. Marla arrived with her attorney, David Pierce, a specialist in domestic relations cases. She wore a conservative blue dress and minimal makeup, the perfect image of a concerned mother protecting her child. Ellis sat beside Rebecca Martinez, his documentation organized in neat folders. He'd spent the previous evening reviewing every piece of evidence with methodical precision. Judge Williams called the session to order. "This is a custody hearing in the matter of Granger versus Granger. We'll hear opening statements first." Pierce stood up. "Your Honor, my client is seeking full custody due to documented emotional abuse and concerning behavioral patterns by the respondent. Mrs. Granger has evidence of systematic psychological manipulation in an unstable home environment that threatens the child's well-being. He presented Marla's fabricated timeline, the therapy sessions, Wren's coach statements, photos taken out of context. Mrs. Granger has been the primary caregiver throughout the marriage, Pierce continued. She's made significant sacrifices for her family. The respondent's controlling behavior and emotional unavailability have created an atmosphere of fear and tension. Martinez stood for Ellis's opening. Your Honor, Mr. Granger contests these allegations entirely. We'll show that Mrs. Granger has engaged in systematic fraud, parental alienation, and criminal conspiracy. This custody case is part of a broader attempt to manipulate the legal system for financial gain. Judge Williams raised an eyebrow. Criminal conspiracy? Yes, Your Honor, including attempted murder. A murmur went through the room. Marla's face showed the first crack in her composure. Pierce objected. Your Honor, these are serious accusations without foundation. We're here to discuss custody, not pursue conspiracy theories. I'll allow it, Judge Williams said. But Mr. Martinez, you'd better have evidence to support such claims. The first witness was Dr. Reeves, the family therapist. She testified about the session she'd observed, describing Ellis as emotionally withdrawn and noting Wren's apparent nervousness around her father. The child exhibited classic signs of anxiety when discussing her father's behavior, Dr. Reeves said. She described feeling scared when he looked angry. Pierce nodded approvingly. This was going according to Marla's plan. Martinez cross-examined carefully. Dr. Reeves, in your professional experience, is it possible for a child to be coached to display certain responses? Coached? I'm not sure what you mean. Can adults teach children what to say in therapy sessions? How to behave? What emotions to display? Dr. Reeves shifted uncomfortably. It's possible, but I didn't observe any indication of coaching. Did you ever meet with the child alone? Without the mother present? No. Mrs. Granger felt it was important to be there for support. Martinez smiled. So any coaching would have been difficult for you to detect, given that the alleged coach was present during all sessions. Pierce objected, but the damage was done. Judge Williams made a note. Next, Marla took the stand. She testified about Ellis's controlling behavior, his lack of emotional support during her career difficulties, and her fears for Wren's psychological well-being. He never shows affection, Marla said, dabbing her eyes with tissue. Wren has asked me why Daddy doesn't love us anymore. It breaks my heart. Pierce walked her through their prepared narrative. The gradual deterioration of the marriage. Ellis's increasing hostility. The impact on their daughter. Then Martinez stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Granger, are you currently in a romantic relationship? Marla stiffened. I don't see how that's relevant. Please answer the question. No, I'm not in a relationship. Have you been in a relationship during your marriage to Mr. Granger? No. Martinez walked to the evidence table and picked up a folder. Your Honor, I'd like to present GPS data showing Mrs. Granger's location over the past 6 months. She distributed copies of a detailed timeline. Restaurants, hotels, the Airbnb property, all correlated with similar location data for Bryce Landon. Mrs. Granger, can you explain why your phone shows you spending multiple nights at this address? Martinez pointed to the Airbnb listing, a property where Bryce Landon also resides. Marla's attorney objected. Irrelevant to custody determination. I'll allow it, Judge Williams said. The witness will answer. I don't recall being at that address. Martinez smiled. Your Honor, I have photographs. She presented images of Marla entering and leaving the Airbnb with Bryce. Timestamps matched the GPS data perfectly. Mrs. Granger, do you recognize this man? Martinez showed a clear photo of Bryce. I may have met him socially. Actually, you've exchanged over 3,000 text messages with him in the past 4 months. Would you like me to read some of them aloud? Pierce was on his feet. Objection. Where did this evidence come from? Martinez looked calm. The defendant's iCloud account, which is part of the family plan Mr. Granger pays for. All legally accessible. Judge Williams leaned forward. I'd like to see those messages. Martinez distributed printed copies of selected text conversations. The judge read in silence while Marla grew visibly pale. Mrs. Granger, Judge Williams said, these messages discuss getting Ellis out of the picture and reference the Ellis situation. Can you explain what that means? We were discussing the divorce. The difficulty of the situation. What about this message where you write, small doses over time? Looks like natural illness? What does that refer to? Marla's mouth opened and closed with Martinez continued. Your Honor, I have video evidence of Mrs. Granger meeting with Dr. Janet Kozlowski to obtain what appears to be prescription medication without a prescription. She played Victor's recording on a laptop. The parking lot exchange was clearly visible. I also have video of Mrs. Granger adding an unknown substance to Mr. Granger's food 3 days ago. The courtroom went silent as they watched the hidden camera footage. Marla reaching into her purse. The dropper bottle. The liquid being added to Ellis's rice. The food has been tested by an independent laboratory, Martinez continued. It contained lorazepam in quantities sufficient to cause serious illness or death. Judge Williams stared at Marla. Mrs. Granger, you're accused of attempted murder. How do you respond? Marla looked at her attorney, who seemed stunned. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. Your Honor, Martinez said, we also have evidence that Mrs. Granger coached the child to make false statements in therapy sessions. She played an audio recording from Marla's digital recorder. The practice sessions where Marla had rehearsed her abuse allegations. Then she played a recording of Marla coaching Ren. Remember to tell the doctor about the times when Daddy looked angry. That's very important, sweetie. Judge Williams turned to Pierce. Counselor, do you wish to present any rebuttal? Pierce looked defeated. No, Your Honor. We request a recess to consult with our client. Denied. I've heard enough. Judge Williams reviewed her notes. Mrs. Granger, based on the evidence presented, I find that you have engaged in systematic fraud, perjury, parental alienation, and attempted murder. I'm granting full custody to Mr. Granger immediately. She continued, Mrs. Granger, you will have supervised visitation only, pending criminal investigation. I'm also ordering a psychological evaluation and mandating that you have no unsupervised contact with the child. Marla started crying. Real tears this time, not the theatrical version from her testimony. Furthermore, Judge Williams said, I'm referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Bailiff, please take Mrs. Granger into custody. As handcuffs clicked around Marla's wrists, she looked at Ellis with pure hatred. You bastard, she whispered. You knew all along. Ellis met her gaze without emotion. I saw everything. The criminal investigation moved quickly. With Ellis's documentation and Victor's surveillance, prosecutors had overwhelming evidence for multiple felony charges. Marla was indicted for attempted murder, insurance fraud, perjury, and child endangerment. Her bail was set at $500,000. She couldn't raise it. Bryce Landon was arrested as a co-conspirator. Ellis had provided the Community Action Network's board with screenshots of Bryce's text messages about poisoning strategies and custody manipulation. The nonprofit fired him immediately. His life coaching certification was revoked. He faced charges for conspiracy to commit murder and fraud. Dr. Kozlowski lost her medical license for providing controlled substances without a prescription. She received 2 years probation in exchange for testimony against Marla. Ellis filed for financial restitution in civil court. With Marla's fraud proven, he won ownership of all marital assets. The house, both cars, their savings accounts, even Marla's retirement fund. She would leave prison with nothing. Ren required months of therapy to undo the psychological manipulation. Dr. Sarah Chun, a specialist in parental alienation, worked with her twice weekly. Children are remarkably resilient, Dr. Chun told Ellis. Ren is young enough to recover completely, but it will take time. Ellis was patient. He'd waited months to expose Marla's plot. He could wait for his daughter to heal. The custody arrangement became permanent. Marla was allowed 1 supervised visit per month in a court-approved facility. She rarely used it. According to her attorney, she blamed Ellis for destroying her life. Ellis felt no sympathy. She had tried to murder him and manipulate their daughter. The consequences were proportional to her actions. 6 months after the trial, Ellis received a letter from Marla in prison. She'd found religion, she claimed. She wanted forgiveness. She wanted to start over when she was released. Ellis threw the letter away without finishing it. Some things couldn't be forgiven. Some betrayals were permanent. Spring arrived early that year. Ellis spent Saturday morning in the backyard, assembling a small greenhouse he'd ordered online. The structure was simple but sturdy. 4 walls of clear panels and a peaked roof that would capture maximum sunlight. Wren helped by sorting screws and reading instructions aloud. She was 9 now, taller and more confident than she'd been during the dark months with Marla. What are we going to grow, Daddy? Herbs. Vegetables. Whatever you want to try. Can we grow strawberries? Probably. We'll have to research the best varieties. They worked together in comfortable silence. Ellis appreciated these quiet projects. Building something useful with his daughter. Creating order from chaos. Dr. Chun had said Wren was progressing well. The nightmares had stopped. She no longer flinched when Ellis raised his voice or moved quickly. The trust between them was rebuilding slowly but steadily. Around noon, Talia Voss appeared at the back gate with a covered dish. "Thought you might want some lunch," she said. Maggie made cookies for Wren. Ellis accepted the food gratefully. Talia had been supportive throughout the legal proceedings. She'd testified about the night she'd called him. Her willingness to get involved had started everything. "How's the greenhouse coming?" Talia asked. "Almost finished. Should be planting by next weekend." Wren ran over with a handful of cookie crumbs on her face. "Talia, look what we're building. Very impressive. You'll have to show me when it's done." After Talia left, Ellis and Wren resumed their construction. The afternoon was warm, but not humid. Perfect working weather. As they installed the final roof panel, Wren asked, "Daddy, do you think Mommy will ever come home?" Ellis considered his answer carefully. Dr. Chun had advised honesty appropriate to Wren's age and emotional development. "Mommy made some very bad choices," he said. "She has to face the consequence. Do you miss her?" "I miss the person I thought she was. But that person may never have existed." Wren nodded solemnly. She developed a serious streak that concerned Ellis sometimes. Too much awareness of adult problems for someone her age. "Are you happy, Daddy?" Ellis paused in his work. It was a simple question with a complex answer. Was he happy? Not in the traditional sense. He felt satisfied that justice had been served. Relieved that the threats to his life and custody were over. Proud that he'd protected his daughter from further manipulation. But happiness? That would take time to rebuild, just like trust. "I'm content," he said finally. "We're safe. We have each other. We're building something good here. Like the greenhouse." Exactly like the greenhouse. They finished the construction as the sun began to set. Ellis stood back to admire their work. The structure looked solid and purposeful, ready to nurture growth in controlled conditions. His phone rang. The caller ID showed Rebecca Martinez, his attorney. "Ellis, I have news about Marla's sentence." "Go ahead." 22 years. She took a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Ellis felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just closure. "Thank you for letting me know. There's something else. She wants to sign over her parental rights. Complete termination. She doesn't want any contact with Wren." Ellis looked at his daughter, who was arranging tools in neat rows. Even that final abandonment wouldn't surprise him. "I'll think about it," he said. After dinner, Ellis helped Wren with homework while mentally planning their first planting. Tomatoes and peppers. Basil and oregano. Simple crops that would produce reliable results with proper care. Yes, he tucked Wren into bed. She asked, "Daddy, why did Mommy try to hurt you?" It was the first time she'd asked directly. Dr. Chun had prepared him for this conversation. Sometimes adults make terrible choices when they're angry or scared. Ellis said, "It doesn't excuse what they do, but it explains why they do it." "Was she angry at me too?" "No, sweetheart. Her anger was about grown-up problems. It was never about you." Wren seemed satisfied with this answer. She kissed his cheek and settled under her covers. Ellis sat in his study afterward, grading papers and reviewing lesson plans for Monday. Normal activities that anchored him to his regular life. On his desk, he kept a small framed photo of Wren from her last birthday. She was smiling genuinely in the picture. No performance, no coaching, just natural happiness. That's what he was protecting. Not just her physical safety, but her ability to be authentically herself. The house felt peaceful, secure. Ellis had installed new locks and a security system, but the real protection came from knowledge. He understood now what people were capable of when they felt trapped or desperate. Marla had underestimated him completely. She'd seen his quiet nature as weakness rather than strength, his methodical approach as limitation rather than thoroughness. She'd learned the difference too late. Ellis closed his laptop and turned off the lights. Tomorrow, he would teach geometry to teenagers who thought they understood angles and proofs. Next weekend, he would plant seeds with his daughter and watch them grow in their controlled environment. Small satisfactions. Quiet victories that, in the end, that was enough.